Good morning, everybody. This was recorded June 8th, 2021 at 9:15 in the morning. And today I am talking to someone whose name is Cetvies. She is a blogger. She's a Master of the Arts graduate in social sciences and political sciences, and her specialty was human rights. She is an active campaigner on human trafficking, among other topics, and she's got a very strong interest in human rights, environmental rights, politics, the news, society, philosophy, and current affairs in general. Now, this episode's unique because we did not speak about geography. She did not want to reveal her location. When we get into the discussion, you'll understand why. She's talking about some very dark but very important topics, the scourge of human trafficking on this planet. And what you find out is there are a lot of people in positions of power who are part of this criminal enterprise called human trafficking. So that's what we talk about today. I'm not exactly sure where she's located. So we didn't talk about geography at all, except in the context of which countries are the worst for this terrible crime of human trafficking. Slavery still exists today in 2021, and by some measures, it's worse than it's ever been in history. So I hope you enjoy this discussion. It's a difficult one. It's not a happy one, but I think it's a necessary topic. So let's welcome Cetvies right after this.
Welcome to the Newtown Big Dreams podcast, an interview-style talk show that's your gateway to the fabulous and fascinating people who relocated to start a new life. Whether you're new to our podcast or your city, our fellow neighbors from across Canada, North America, and the entire English-speaking world share their stories of reaching new horizons and big dreams. So sit back and relax as we navigate in-depth and intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, executives, creatives, and anyone who can share their story about their Newtown big dreams. And now, here's your host, Luke J. Menkes.
Cetvies, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you today?
Yes, I'm fine. Yourself?
I am very well, thank you.
Oh.
I know we're in a different time zone.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm a native French speaker. All my kind of work and lifestyle have been around trying to learn English and studying English and human rights in particular. I'm a blogger. I write on many topics. And the subject I'd like to put forward are human rights related, such as veganism, censorship, especially in China, loan trap in Africa by the Chinese state, human trafficking that is very, very, very much widespread than we commonly think.
Okay.
Amongst that.
Yeah. So I really love to talk to you about human trafficking because I know it's a huge issue. And here in North America, we're starting to see it more in the news. We're seeing more people arrested, I think, or it's being covered in the news more than it was previously. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got interested in this topic?
In fact, it's through university.
Okay.
I was interested in sexual exploitation. In any case, because I saw, for example, one of my first a shock was to see that in France there is streets, and of course everyone knows it, but even there's harbors and entire quarters living out of quote-unquote prostitution, and it's very in the open, and it's very much part of the economy, and also it affects basically they are trapping very young women, people from just right out of high school that don't have the choice, that just start getting money working around these zones, and it's quite shocking, really. So at university I studied prostitution and gender studies, where basically it's explained that prostitution as such is not sex. It's almost not about sex. It's more about a complete domineering. It's a way to exploit and to destroy the person you exploit in every aspect of their individuality, so I studied this via Medi modules, and I did my MA dissertation on children's sexual exploitation.
Mm-hmm. I know it's very common, and I think a lot of people are very shocked to see how common it is when they look into it. Could you give us some statistics? Is this something that happens in every country on the planet? And how widespread is it?
Yeah, so you've got the sexual abuses against children. This is one of the first data, is that it concerns and every class of the population. You are rich, you are poor, you are educated, you are not educated, and so forth. You are your children are at risk of being exploited, and by any class of society. There is no. It's rather well distributed, basically. This sexual abuses against children. And then you've got another topic, which is human trafficking. So the people who are more likely to be trafficked are, of course, vulnerable population. That is to say, kids from poor background, whose parents are weakened, have been weakened socially, financially. LGBT kids, ethnic minority kids, kids with disabilities, or let's say mental particularities, such as if you've got autism, for example, are what are spread in countries. That, I guess, is really fluctuating. What you can see is if human rights are respected, and if democracy is respected, and if there's less inequality within the countries, within the country itself, then there is the risk of being exploited it's really reduced. Where it is very, very prominent, it will be like the Pacific or Asia, India. They also suffer from sex tourism. That is to say, they are clearly a destination for pedophiles. Or for don't need to be categorized as pedophiles, but males, older males that will travel for prostitution, to find what is called sex services or something like this. But me, I don't agree with this kind of vocabulary. So sometimes it's very difficult for me to speak. To name it, that will travel for not necessarily children, so under the age of 18, but very young women and so forth. I think you've got particularly a problem in North America, in the US, certainly due to poor social protection. If someone is out of a job, and as we know, capitalism is feeding in itself on the concept of unemployment, because it boosts exploitation, it boosts low salaries, it boosts inequalities and so forth. And if you are without money, then people that set to exploit other people it's more easy to ask anything from the people that are in the street. You've got also so many problems with hard drugs, very powerful drugs that have the abilities of making people completely dependent in 1, 2, or 3 times consumption, and also we just kills people. So people who are completely hooked, and then certainly as well the victims of these schemes are refugees and migrants. In Europe, we see less of it, though there is a big. So I think is deflected really, unfortunately, through sex tourism. And in Europe, you've got this border alongside Russia, where human trafficking is beyond. So it's where it's available. There is Africa as well.
So it's very prevalent. I'd like to just go back to something you said about the vocabulary. You said you don't like to use certain vocabulary when it comes to this situation. Why is that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is a big problem. In fact, it was on one of my big sections on my dissertation, is that you realize that even when you read professionals, that is to say, they are paid daily to supposedly help people that are exploited and that are victims and so forth, recurrently, even when you study things such as sexual abuses against children, these people are academics, so it's their jobs, or maybe not academics but professional who write about this subject, so who spread the word and who spread the mindset and the framework of thoughts and so forth. And these very same people will talk about prostitution for children. But there is no, even legally, and in any case in international law, it should be completely impossible, contrary in term, to talk about prostitution in children, because by definition, children cannot give consent. So basically, any abuse, any sex activity with a child it's rape. It's yes. I mean the even speaking of rape is problematic, because what we designate as rape is it will be against adults, against children is something even worse. And these people, instead of coming with a more exact word and appropriate word about it, they vulgarize it in speaking about prostitution. And it's where the almost these words almost may render these crimes legal, because prostitution it's kind of controversial if it should be legal or if it is not. And yeah. So and there's many words like that are abused, and like on the ground, and it's on the ground when this is what I kind of say repeatedly, because it's one of these information when you read it, you can't believe your eyes, and you put it somewhere, and the moment you rework on it, you have to check every time. I check. But for example, in the US itself, if a minor is caught by the police, so what they say is like a sexual solicitation or curb calling and so forth. A minor is doing it. They end up being criminalized themselves. It's like with in the UK, there's in the US as well, and certainly in other countries. In France as well, we have this, and what they do, the criminal gangs and the organized crimes, is that they make sure that the mules are children, because children are less likely to be arrested. If they are arrested, well, who cares? Because it's just their function is that it's not the criminal who get money. It's just a mule, right? And so they get children to do their dirty work. Yeah? And if the police is catching the child, but he's innocent, right? But by definition, a child is innocent. A child should be at school, training to be a worker, and to live in harmony with the society in which he will grow up and so forth. No, instead of that, they are allowed to be caught and to be manipulated and to be used by mafias, basically. And when the police catch them, instead of extracting them, what you've got on safeguarding, or it's one of the big key terms when you want to safeguard someone who is vulnerable, you've got to extract him. Instead of extracting him, they criminalize them. So you end up with a criminal record. We all know that with a criminal record, then you can't find a job any longer, and so forth. Even in the USA, it's more than that, because in some states, if they give you a criminal record, there's welfare help that you don't get, and so forth. So basically, is to make sure. If we see that very objectively, is to make sure that these children are caught and made victims of all sorts of abuses very young, and are kept in this position for forever.
Really terrible.
Yeah.
So we talked about trafficking and child exploitation. Do most of the victims come from the same country that they're being exploited in, or are they transported international? We know about Russia, Eastern Europe, the U.S.-Mexican border. We know a lot of people are trafficked there. But would you say most of the victims are basically in the same location, or are they being moved long distances?
Yes. Maybe the differences are organized. The gang that exploit them are basically. But it's one of a perfect tool for the mafia is to make sure that their victims doesn't know the victims don't know any longer where they are. And it's true, the children near borders are also very victimized. They are prey upon themselves because it's so easy to cross borders, and then also there's one of the main reasons for them to cross the border is that information about missing people doesn't cross the border. So you've got the police that famously doesn't they don't coordinate their information, they don't coordinate their effort, and that is to say they've got a well-known missing person or well-known vulnerable person, and also they got files on criminals, and in some situations the criminal just have to extract themselves and to travel to start being unknown, to go and do what they do completely incognito, because the police is unable to link with other police in order to track these gangs, and is a very fundamental information, because it's what it is in one of the main reasons for failure is that notoriously criminal organizations are international, and police are not. And finish. The moment you cross the border, you are safe.
Do you think a lot of the police and military are involved in this, or just some?
This is a very interesting question, and in fact, is something I was a bit surprised about, because I've read a lot about human trafficking, or so I thought, and it's only when I started being interested in the concept of corruption that it's logical. It's very logical. It is very linked. But academically, I've never heard about the very logical and clear connection between corruption and human trafficking until I really started digging both the subjects at the same time. And yes, it is. Anyhow, you can see it when you start to grasp a wider picture about what is happening. And also, it's one of the reasons why the people traffic can't go anywhere. And it's the reason why it's going on and on and on. What is happening is that in reality, we are all complicit, basically. Because how come we know? I think in every town, we know that when we know a town enough to say that we know the town, we all know there is a street or there is certain border on the periphery of a town where there is like night prostitution. Yeah.
Right.
And when you happen to walk through these quarters, you see women for example from Africa. In France, a lot of women that are exploited are from Africa, and you see them and you see a car nearby, and just you start being afraid, because basically we all know what it is. We all know that that is women living in pure terror, that they've got ID problems and so forth, and that they are here exploited. That is for sure, and we all know it. Mm-hmm. And it's you start asking yourself question when, for example, there's BBC4 report on that, documentary on that. The police knowing about house, they know there's exploiting people there, yeah? But they're too busy. They're too busy. They don't even they won't come back there because for example in the US, when it's enough to read the paper to know where many of these people are. They are in a front that they call themselves massage parlor, escort, nail salon, and sauna, and name it, right? So basically, you know that if today, if you play the role of the police, you can go and bust these places and certainly get results. Yeah? But it's not done. And also, when there is an additional problem, is the social care and social protection for these people. For example, when you study prostitution, one of what is known all over the place as well is that clearly the victims are from a social care background. Is children that are looked after by social worker, mm-hmm. and support worker and so forth. The whole lot. Well, these children, you know that they are so poorly looked after, but the probability for them to end up in prostitution is very high. In fact, they enter prostitution during the moment they have housing through the social servicing before being thrown out in the street when they are 18.
Wow.
So.
That's really tough. So what is the solution to this? Awareness, of course, is great. We should be more aware of it. But do you see any progress? Is there any chance of reducing this?
Yes, awareness is necessary. There is no question about it. Because you need to break taboo, and you need to break ignorance, and also you need to break people being comfortable with a system. It's comfortable to think that it's a good system within which they operate, and they are not baddies basically. And also a problem with censorship that in fact is very clear, because when we talk about trafficking being prominent in society, and that no one is really talking, not no one, but no one is in the mass media is talking about it, is very deeply problematic. So the only conclusion we can come with is that the elites, and I'm not talking about the top crust. I'm talking about all the system is working on that. Like we know through colonization of ancient history that the whole system were living out of slavery, or out of servitude and so forth, and it hasn't changed much. Or maybe possibly it is getting, we could almost say that it's getting worse, because there is kind of a stability, and there is an awareness of being a part of one world and so forth. And doesn't change things a lot. Awareness is crucial, but clearly it's not enough. In fact, there is many debates now on awareness that are surging, because we are trying to connect, and so there is pockets of people really working towards, for example, to spread the word, and we are connecting by globalization and so forth. But it's very easy, and we saw it with people like Trump being so clear about. It is great to lie. Is it great to pretend? Is it great to make sure that exploitation is what will make you rich, basically. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've noticed in North America a lot more stories on the news about people being arrested. There was a house in Houston, Texas, regular size house. I mean, a large, American style house, but they had 150 victims in there, and about 6 adults that were controlling the whole thing. But 156 people were pulled out of this, 5-bedroom house. Is it just that I'm noticing it more, or do you think more arrests are happening?
Like, it would take you a specialist to really answer the question. It's maybe both. Because what is the thing as well is that our society is changing. So, for example, the sex tourism that is changing because, for example, since the European and the Western world, let's say, has got less money to splash about, they go less to other country in order to predate. There is also so much economic instability. There is also through quote-unquote religious practice, very religious quote-unquote societies or communities will exploit early marriage. In fact, they will praise child marriage. So you've got now, for example, it's only since I think I can't remember now the precise date. I think it's since only 2017 that child marriage is incorporated into a human trafficking statistic. But child marriage clearly, and what is advocated by many people pretendedly religious, it's the most one of the most powerful way of exploiting people and exploiting sexually people, and So yes, society is changing. So can we compare? Maybe difficult. Also, more and more migrants. We saw. Migrants are even now are more and more at risk of organ trafficking. You see, there is this big pocket now that are completely left in control, and these people that are rejected on the side, and kind of no one knows what is happening to them. And it's not no police will bust traffic people if they are refugees, for example. So yes, let's hopefully think that if you've got 150 people in the same home, but at some point some alarm will be raised, because but on things more insidious, is there more awareness? I don't know. Plus, after that, you would for example, you've got a problem with training staff. Incredibly, staff such as police, such as social services worker, such as staff that work in trains, on trains, or near planes, at airports and so forth, or at motel and so forth. They are not trained. No one is trained. Yes, so no one is here to help spot these networks. Yeah, and. So this can be done, for example, and is being done. But for example, you will also have people saying, "But look, me, I'm a teacher. I don't have 30 kids in my classroom anymore. I have 50." And there is a layer of so big problems that one is impossible to know the kids are kind of are under my authority, and the problem, the social problems and economic problems and so forth are so overwhelming that there is nothing they can do. And when it is spotted, what can they do in any way? Because also you've got another problem, for example, through the staff, so through people that can raise the alarm. It's one of the big subjects in France at the moment is how prevalent really sexual abuses against children is. And there is some statistic that could let think that is much more prominent than we want to admit. So,
Cetvies, do you have a blog where we can find out more about your work?
Yeah. Alors, I've got a blog. Its name is inthenameofhumanrights.com.
Okay. We will check that out. I really appreciate your time. I know we're in a very different time zone, so I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Luc.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Newtown Big Dreams podcast with your host, Luc Menkes, and his authentic guests. And we love our listeners and hope you subscribe now to learn more about the amazing journeys of our incredible guests who relocated to find a new town, big dreams. And remember, make your dreams big.